the biggest challenge that I would say that I've seen in event marketing is that organizers.
What is this learning phase? It's nothing that when you launch a campaign, the dashboard or the algorithm is learning about what kind of audience is relevant. Now those 900 people, how do I get back to my platform? I will retarget them.
First, most important thing is to know the voice, know the story. Because when you know the correct voice and when you define the correct voice, then you are able to connect with your audience.
Promoter A, B, or C. Let's say we invested 25,000 with them, 30,000 with B, 40,000 out of C. Now, how do I get this data of offline got you a better traffic, which got you a relevant traffic? And now that could be tracked through like a pixel integration.
Welcome to the very first episodes of Podcast by Formy. Today we have two very special guests with us. I'm your host, Danu. So the guests that we have today are Akankshi Goel and Nilanjan Dhar. Akankshi Goel is a performance marketer at Engage, and also she is the founder of Outland Circle, and Nilanjan Dhar is the creative head and founder of Outland Circle. We're very glad to have you guys as our very first guest in our podcast.
Thank you so much. It's lovely being here.
Okay then, if you could give a quick introduction about yourself and the company you're working in, that'd be great.
Okay. So hi everyone, I'm Akankshi and I've been in performance marketing for last 5 years. Before that, I did dabble into other marketing roles, but mostly been in the marketing as a department. So, which is what I was telling you, like I started as an intern and got to dabble into marketing ops, content marketing, SEO, and I think that sort of helped me in understanding how digital is. And because I started doing this like 10 years back, which is where like India hit its first digital burst, I think I was at the right time and chose a field that was interesting. And I think the value of digital marketing is only growing with time. So I think, yeah, so hence I am currently a performance marketer. More than digital, I take care of if a company gives me $1, I have to tell that company how much value I bring back for that $1 in revenue, not just like in terms of how much traffic did they get, and it's purely based on how much end pipeline did I generate for the company. So that's my role at Engage. I handle like Canada and US as region. On the parallel, 3-4 years back, I started the company with Nilanjan called Outland Circle. The idea came into being from working into different agencies like Dentsu, iQuanti, and before that I was working in a smaller agency. Where that's where I met Nilanjan, and we came into being by just being curious about digital and where it could lead to. And the second thing was like we thought like we could serve the clients in a much better way. Hence the agency came into being, and yeah, that's my small journey and myself.
Okay, that's great. You've had quite a journey from being a marketer and then performance marketing right now. So yeah, pretty interesting. What about you, Nilanjan?
I got into marketing quite by accident. So I
Okay.
actually have a background in art and design.
Uh-huh.
So when I started working, I after college I started working in a startup, and then I worked in some agencies, and I was working with the design team, but the design team in these companies is always part of a larger marketing team. So quite by circumstance, I have been working in the marketing departments since the start of my career, which was like 6-7 years ago, I guess. And eventually I started enjoying marketing for what it was, and it became less about design for me and became more about art. So I started getting into not just the design part of marketing, but also the copywriting aspect of it, the idea creation of marketing. And I think that my real interest in marketing is just crafting really good copy, crafting those good ideas that lead people to take action. I look at digital marketing, my relationship with, let's say, performance marketing or running ads. Like, these platforms give you an opportunity to get in front of your prospect. But once you're there, what are you going to say? And what you say to them will make or break everything. So when you, let's say, you run a campaign and you put money behind an ad campaign, that gets you a chance, that gets you in front of the prospect. But what do you say once you're there? Like, what do you show? and if you do it right, you're going to convert that prospect or not. So I take a lot of interest in that. I am very interested in the psychology aspect of consumers and marketing. So yeah. So currently, I am running Outland Circle. I am managing a team. Like we work with a variety of clients in the B2C, B2B sector, and it's been fun. We work with very interesting clients. That we work with a lot of events. I think event marketing is something we have always really enjoyed. It's a very fast-paced environment, and it's always been fun. So we work with events, we work with tech companies, we work with FMCG brands. So we work with a variety of fields, and yeah, that's what we are doing now.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. We would definitely like to dwell into the event marketing aspect and the digital marketing and performance marketing. So before that, I would want to know how Outland Circle started off. Like, what was that idea that initiated this thing, and the journey you guys had initially to found this?
Yeah. So Akankshi and I met through a common friend of ours.
Nihar,
His
and
name is Nihar.
shout out to him.
Yeah, shout out to him for starting this. So we all used to work at an agency together. So we were in the design and creative part of the company, and Akankshi was in the brand, marketing, and client-facing part of the company. So to manage clients, we had to work together. Eventually, we left that company, and we were like, circumstances led us all to be
Like
jobless
we
at the
all
same
were
time.
trying to find a job at
Yeah.
that point, and because of my experience in that agency, I was not very keen to look into a job at that point. And me coming from a family background, like family business background, so I always had like there's a chip in your back, like something more. Like I always wanted to do something of my own, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So when this sort of happened, when we all were looking for jobs, and Nilanjan also mentioned that he wanted to start something of his own. He also didn't know what he wanted to do. So our third friend, who's Nihar, and I knew Nihar like before this agency also. So I had like a long relationship, working relationship with Nihar. So he's like, why don't we just start our own thing? And it was very like some suddenly out of nowhere, and I think that was the seed that he sort of planted in both of our heads. So I think
And then
that's
we
how like that common friend sort of gave us that push, and we weren't very happy with our last experience. So I think it was not like a lot of startups and companies do a lot of research before launching. I think we went with our gut that we are a great team, the three of us. We know how to do our job well, and
we had good synergy.
and we all three of us had like a very like the if you look at the skill set, each one was an expert in a way where it made like a good marketing solution for a client. uh, we were like, okay, let's start testing that. And as soon as we thought about it, my previous companies, like the first company where I started as a marketing intern, my CEO sort of, who's my mentor as well, Ashish Garg, he basically said, if you are doing this, why don't we start engaging again? And I would love to work with you again for sure. So that was like the first push I think we all as entrepreneurs need, that one client or one sale that helps you envision, okay, this isn't not something that I'm just thinking, but there are people who want it in the market. So I think that nudge sort of helped us in then starting to get another brand, then another brand, and I think that's where the journey has been. So Echoes of Earth also came through this friend of ours. He's a musician. So he's friends, and as we mentioned, Echoes of Earth works with Swordfish. Swordfish has a lot of musician, artist kind of people within their team, and hence our friends sort of got us in front of them, and I think it sort of the synergies were they understood that Nilanjan definitely gets there. Even though they were working with like a very big agency at that point, I think someone who was managing a brand like Britannia, when they met Nilanjan and met me, they saw that I had the skill for digital marketing. But the biggest sell for them was that he was able to understand the language. I think a lot of times, like brands want to know that you understand their ethos, you understand their brand language, and that's when they will, want to work with you.
I did initially I didn't believe that it would actually happen, but because I had been trying to do something for a while, we were discussing with Nihar, and we were like, okay, let's discuss. Like we had been discussing, but when Akankshi came into the picture, I think she had a lot of skills of actual like business. She had actual business skills, which we did not at that point. So when she came into the picture, things started happening very fast. We got one client, and then a month later we got another client, and then I was like, okay, this is happening. This is actually happening, and so we're like, okay, now we are all in on this, and yeah, rest is history. We just kept going. Yeah.
So that's like a small journey.
Okay,
that we
okay.
have had.
I would also like to know how the COVID journey was, because that's definitely impacted businesses in many ways. There are pros and also cons. So when it comes to the marketing agencies, how do you think COVID impacted them, and particularly with Outland Circle, how was the journey?
I can talk about Outland. I'm not very sure about what I can comment on agencies at large. I think pretty much everyone was hit by it, and especially the brands that were operating very, very heavily offline, who didn't see the value of digital per se till that point. I think COVID was like a nail in the coffin where people started to understand the value of, if not getting the revenue, you need to be in front of your audience. You had to be on digital. So I think for us it was a very big hit, because even though we are a digital performance marketing creative agency, we had like a lot of offline clients, Echoes of Earth. Then we had another film festival. Then we had
We had a sports brand.
we had a sports
yeah.
like sport tech brand, which is very, like, we can mention the name, that's Game Theory. And so we had like a lot of brands like these, and then suddenly when COVID hit them, obviously like their revenues were like zero at that point, because their whole experience of the user was offline. So what would they sell even online? So hence, that's when we realized that even though we are a digital company, we never really thought about like having some digital first companies in our portfolio. So it did hit us hard, but I think it was a good thing. We had like a struggle period of 6 months, but within that 6 months period, a lot of companies started to understand the value of digital. Like a lot of brands that weren't doing digital marketing or weren't being active online started to come to Outland saying that, hey, if nothing, we want to be on social media and post about us. We want to be in front of people. So I think then we started to see traction back again from a business lens. We are definitely like only Outland, like I'm talking about, like we've grown our team, we've like had like better experiences with, we got like, because of the shock time, I think we also created a lot of processes internally. We knew what, and then also we went inwards, like to understand what do we want to do. Do we want to do everything, or do we want to do some good things? So I think that's just like a entrepreneurial journey everyone goes through, where at the beginning, because you don't know what you want to do, you do everything, and then you're like, okay, let's go backwards and see what actually can bring more revenue to us, because we are great at this. So I think that sort of helped us, and then we also launched few new things. For example, like we never did video. We did not have the bandwidth to take up video production, even though we were in digital and social media, where everything was moving towards digital, we weren't moving towards that. So I think we also took that pause and we reevaluated, and then we were like, okay, no, we need to either learn this skill or shut this down. So I think that sort of helped us in moving towards launching newer skills and newer services that we provide now in Outland.
Some other stuff we did launch was that we launched a community where we actually teach people marketing. We talk about marketing because it was like, it's not just about serving clients. Like I personally do enjoy marketing a lot. We love marketing. Actually, we love marketing. So we
I
wanted
love
to talk
that.
about it.
I don't know about marketing, I do love performance marketing.
So I wanted to talk about it. We made an Instagram page, and at that time I was like, I want to do events. But pre-pandemic, it was a bit difficult. I was like, expenses were like a problem. I think post pandemic it became much easier because for one thing people were much more open to the idea of online events, and that was one thing. The other thing was that yeah, obviously now we've grown and now we can like do multiple things. So venturing into like figuring out online communities, trying to do events, that was something interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was like a challenging period. That was a great learning lesson, and then you guys got clarity about a lot of things that you mentioned. If in case you had online events on board as well, along with the offline
Yeah, we
ones
went.
during the
We
COVID time,
actually.
it would have been helpful. And also for the businesses, I think they would have learned that to stay relevant, it's important to keep their presence alive online as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like one thing
They
that we
had to learn
noticed,
that the hard way.
one thing that we noticed, especially if we take events as a category, is that like a lot of people thought till that point or before that also was that digital is important, but we'll do a lot of offline events. We have to invest a lot more on offline than on digital. I think that
There was this thing we kept hearing that in India offline we have to do offline.
Yeah.
This is India. We
Yeah.
can't fully depend. We don't hear that
we
anymore.
need to have a good balance. Like
You don't hear
and
that anymore.
definitely you need to have like a good balance, but you need to capture. I think from a budgetary point of view, I always felt like digital took a secondary importance.
Okay.
But post pandemic, I think we could see that shift. We could see that people started to do more virtual events because of pandemic. They were pushed to like explore different ways to engage with their audience, not just like having an offline quote unquote event. So then not just having that, like from a performance or a digital point of view, I started seeing like an event which was just done virtually and not promoted and not given enough time for promotion. That sort of also sort of started moving towards that, oh okay, if we are doing this event, how are we going to promote? We don't have any offline, if anything, so how do we do? So that money sort of started coming into performance as well, that okay, we are going to, if nothing, we'll do brand awareness, if nothing, we'll do some lead gen campaign. So I think smaller nudges from brands which were never digital first was one of the most interesting things that I sort of saw, and especially in the event category, that people wanted. I think they always understood the value of digital but never took a step. But that just sort of, it was just like they got an understanding why it is very very important now. So I think that's when like the budget allocations also started happening very very consciously in the planning phase of any event planning.
Okay then. Okay. Thank you for those insights. So when it comes to Outland Circle, considering now the competition in the marketing field is only increasing, and especially with digital marketing after COVID. So what's the X factor in Outland Circle that makes it stand out?
I think it's about like for me, X factor would be how we understand a brand. I think every agency can do what we do. I think every digital marketing is something everyone can do, but it's about how you position a brand, how you talk to a brand, and every brand has a nuance. Every brand has a voice, which I think is a skill that we possess in Outland. And the second thing is, I think I personally feel that the way we plan is our very strong point. Like having a process and a plan before we do anything. I think before even saying that yes, this is a possibility. I think my clients never have heard it from me. Oh, we will definitely get you this result. I would always say, okay, this is my estimation that we can get you for. But definitely when we launch it, we'll get to see way more results. Sometimes you launch with a communication that does not hit with the audience, and sometimes like that recalibration is very very quick for us, which I think hasn't happened for a lot of people, and maybe that's
It's like you said that everyone can do digital marketing and design and content. Everyone does that. I think for us, it's more about supporting the mission that these entrepreneurs have. It's not about the content. It's not about the design and the digital marketing. Those are just the tools of the trade. I think what really excites us is that there are these entrepreneurs, there are these startups. Like, what can we do to support you, to help you grow? Because we have a particular set of skills. We're good at it, and how can we come in and make your life easier? How can we take care of that for you? How can we support you? I think that's the real reason why people have
And I
enjoyed
think
working
we
with
both,
us.
because we started as fluke, quote unquote, fluke, I'm saying,
And also,
entrepreneurs.
yeah, we
So
wanted
we
to
just
be entrepreneurs.
we like entrepreneurship. We
Yeah.
like someone has taken a bet on themselves and their idea, and they are passionate about it. I think agencies probably like that could be our differentiator. Actually, like a lot of people see them as a pocket of money. For us, it's like we actually want to invest into the vision of an entrepreneur or a founder, because we understand the struggle. We've gone through the whole journey, as we mentioned. Everyone has an ebb and flow, and I think for us, like understanding the brand voice and the people behind it, as Nilanjan said, I think those are the two key differentiators. I think which we sort of bring on to the
Yeah,
table.
and
And
we take a level of personal interest and attention to driving their business goals, which a lot of people who come to us, they have worked with other agencies and they didn't feel that, and they
yeah.
wanted that.
And I think it's
So
about how those agencies have set their business. I don't want to diss anyone, like, not like they are not great, they are doing great. What they do, they are great at it. I think what we do is that we don't want to take too many like clientele and be overwhelmed. We want to have much more personal. We would like, and however we have been operating till now, it's always like if you talk to any of our client, like anyone, they'll say they were very much part of our internal team. So we like to plug ourselves into their internal systems instead of just like otherwise agencies work at one hand's, one hand distance. So
yeah,
we
it's
don't
not
like
about
that.
delivering a service. It's
Yeah.
about like supporting your mission.
Yeah. So I think that would be the main differentiator, because we worked in different agencies, so hence we didn't like that. We wanted it to be more personal. We wanted it to be why they are thinking the way they are thinking, because it's not like someone is saying, let's say a founder wants to do something and you don't agree with that. I think there would be some reason why they are thinking the way they are thinking. So I think we like to be part of those gray spaces instead of just saying yes or a no. I think that would be the one.
Right, I get it. You guys give a more personalized touch to the whole experience. It's more of like a collaborative process.
I think it would be that instead of being personal, I think
Mm.
it was way more collaborative than I've ever even done it even in my agency time. Like there was always this mindset where I wanted it to be one arm's distance with them, because that's how like we've been told and how the agency was operating. So yeah, like versus like our employees also, whoever work with us, they are very open to Nilanjan. I am not in the day to day, but like clients and people, like we are very people centered people, like
Yeah.
both of us.
I think the way we select our team members has also reflects that.
Could both of you share a really crazy experience that you had during the journey of maybe founding Outland Circle or during COVID time? Any one specific moment where?
I think for me the pandemic was the
Uh-huh.
most contrasting.
Okay.
I have a funny story.
For
Okay.
him, probably.
It's just a funny story.
Okay.
And it's not even our story, it's someone else's story that we came across. So while we were prospecting, this was pre-pandemic, we were looking for clients. I connected with this guy called Yash on LinkedIn, and he said, I'm running a t-shirt company, like I want to like try some marketing. So I'm like, why don't you guys come down to my office and like we'll discuss. So we go down to his office, which was this it was a apartment in Electronic City, where I think like there's like a whole bunch of like 6 to 7 people who are like living in that apartment. They were all college kids, and the Yash, he's also a college kid, and then he tells his story, and he says that I like my parents think I'm going to college, but I dropped out of college long back, and I'm still taking the money from the
Then-
tuition for the college, and I'm investing it into like
In
building this
this
t-shirt
business.
business.
Okay.
And me and my partner, we just dropped out of college. No, our parents don't know that we dropped out. We're trying to build this t-shirt business with the fees from the college. We're trying to grow it. Like, can you help us? And it was just really like we both of us
That
were
was
like,
true,
what
like,
is
we were
happening here?
Yeah.
Like
I think,
like
but for me it was
I
very
remember
interesting.
you told me that, man, like like what all things we encounter, what all kind of people we encounter on this journey.
And it was so interesting for me to see that, like in India, like earlier, everyone wanted to very like service mindset. I think it was so this example, it was so interesting for me to see that everyone now in India wants to be an entrepreneur, and to the limit of how, okay, it was a bit shady, I think, but I think kudos for what he's doing, and he was building like a very good brand, like
He was
whatever
successful.
he was very
Very proper
successful
hustler.
already. He reached out
And
to us. He
yeah.
was not just the right fit for our services, but he was doing an awesome job, and we were like,
Yeah.
this is
We just had a great conversation.
yeah,
It was
we were
just good
like,
to meet
this is
him.
just an amazing experience to see that India is going towards entrepreneurship, which is why, like, if you read so many articles about it, India in next 10 decade, like in a decade, like if you're in India, I think you will have a way better career prospects than whether it is tech or any other place. I think India is where you need to be for the next decade, because we will definitely outbeat a lot of other countries. So, and this is very like a very glimpse of what is happening in the ground, right? Like for us also, it was very shocking, and like how deep entrepreneurship has become, and everyone has the courage of do. We thought we were being courageous of doing what we are doing, but that guy just showed us like the level of courage that he had. Like he dropped out, left everything, is cheating on his parents, kind of, but doing an awesome job at what he was doing. Because he was like, the day I built it to a level where I feel I can take it back to my parents is when I'm going to tell them that I'm sorry, like I'm not taking, I have not done the degree. So I think that was really interesting for us to, awesome.
Yeah.
And
That's inspiring. Wow, at a young age.
at
He
such
was
a
like
young
19
age.
or 20, I think.
Yeah, he was barely, he was 1 year into his college, I think,
And
second year or
he was
something.
already reaching out to people like,
He was working with like brands like Shell and like a big
just supplying
corporate.
t-shirts to them.
Yeah, and I'm like insane, and he had his printing press there itself, and that's what you need, like hustling. I hate this word, but that attitude of that is so amazing. That you would do everything what you can in your capabilities, so and capacity. Yeah.
So I saw on your page that you guys have promoted a number of events. So like, how's the experience been, and what kind of events have you guys worked with?
We really enjoy working with events. There was a point where we were considering becoming a marketing agency only for events.
Okay.
We worked with all kinds of events, from music festivals, film festivals, conferences, B2B events, online events, offline events. We've done a bunch of things. I think events are always very fast paced. It's always very exciting. You're always running against the clock when you're doing event marketing. I think the biggest challenge that I would say that I've seen in event marketing is that organizers often assign a single team to kind of manage their event, and they don't really have like different functions to do marketing, to do programming, to do sponsorships. Because an event for a company, an event is just one thing that they do. One thing that they do in addition to all the other things that that company does. So for them, they just have one team, but they don't realize that even for an event to be successful, it needs its own marketing. It has different functions. So that's a challenge that I've seen. I remember there was a event that I attended, and it was a really nice event in Bangalore. They had a lot of like beautiful like installations, great speakers, very interesting conversations, but there wasn't that many attendees. And I knew the organizers. I spoke to them, and they were like, like people just didn't know. I think we didn't talk about it enough online. I was like, yeah, that's right. Like such a big event was happening, and people would have gladly like paid the money and come to attend, but they just didn't know that it was happening. So that was sad. I think that marketing for an event often gets, if not overlooked, it's just treated as an afterthought. That okay, like put all your effort into making this amazing experience for attendees, and then not enough effort is put into actually like promoting that event.
And like what I've noticed is, as Nilanjan was saying, that it's like a chaotic. It's very like everyone is on the edge. Like everyone is planning it, has been planning it, and it is definitely like one of the most important things because there are a lot of uncertain things that could happen. So there's a lot more pressure and like a lot of times things might happen which you didn't anticipate. So, which is why like event marketing becomes very, very complex. And as Nilanjan said, that like a lot of companies treat it as one of the things, but it needs dedicated resources, dedicated planning, dedicated people. And because it is end of the day a representation of the brand as well, right? Like it's not just that you do that event and people will forget about it. And the event that Nilanjan was mentioning, I actually attended their previous event and I didn't even get to know about them. Like, they didn't even reach out to the people who actually attended their first event. So, a lot of times, like, what happens in event, I can take like my company and the way we also have organized certain events ourselves. Also, we've like organized small talks and everything. What happens is that in the process of planning the event, a lot of times people just put so much time and emphasis on it that the deadline keeps getting closer and then they don't want to push the date and they want to make it happen that day because they've finalized the venue, they've asked the speakers, they've like sent invites on email or something, and but then like they can't like now go back to that date and they have to do it then. So hence like while they are planning they don't really understand that promotions need to happen, not like it can't happen that you start your event like say 10 days down the line and you start promoting today. It can't happen like that. So or like from performance marketing lens, if I have to talk about it, each platform has its own learning phase. So like Facebook has like a learning phase of they say 14 days, but in my experience sometimes the campaign gets optimized within like 7 days. Google is a little faster. LinkedIn takes like 14 days to optimize. So when I say this, not optimize, like learning phase, what is this learning phase? It's nothing that when you launch a campaign, the dashboard or the algorithm is learning about what kind of audience is relevant for you. So if you are planning an event, let's say 10 days down the line, it makes no sense to even promote it right now. Then stick to organic. Do not like put dollars behind it and then feel like, oh, I invested. A lot of times we've also experienced that people did promotions, like did spend some dollars to promote their event, but they did it like 1 week before or like 10 days before the event. And then suddenly their answer is, oh, we tried like paid marketing, it doesn't work for us. You know why? Because we spend like $5,000. I don't think so it works for us. So, and if you go back to the data when I asked access to these people, I come to realize it was just like 10 days before the event. So while the campaign just ended the learning phase, you ended the campaign. So, like, hence we say that there are a lot of things that I've noticed, like organizers want to do a lot of, it's not that they don't realize, as I said in the past, that it is that they understand the value of digital, but as Nilanjan said, it's always like an afterthought, or because there's like not dedicated resource, nobody thought about it, or there is that if that dedicated resource is there, it comes as that person is there like doing a lot of things within event marketing, has no bandwidth to think about like paid promotion or any kind of social promotion. So yeah, that's one of the things that we've noticed as a very common trend. And the one thing that I've also heard is that in event marketing, people depend a lot on offline.
Yes.
Only post pandemic, I think that shift is started to happen. But still, their idea is that offline does better than online. Current status, I think it has definitely changed. Budgets are coming in and they are feeling important about it. But yeah, like in general essence, it started as that belief that offline does way better than online because India is a very experiential audience, so hence online would not do much to our audience, and we are an offline experience, so we would want to make them feel as to what they are going to look forward to. So So yeah, that's been our general experience with people.
Right. And also, like some of the old players in the event industry, they're just too comfortable with the offline way of marketing, and
Yeah.
they don't want to evolve into the digitization of the entire process. And probably, them being comfortable with the whole digitizing process could help them evolve into that. So, like you mentioned, the budget wasn't being allotted much to the digital marketing before. So, what do you think is the current scenario? What's the importance being given to that?
So as you mentioned, yeah, like I think historically, I think there are two things to it. One is that digital itself is a very new, like a platform or a way of marketing. So a lack of knowledge exists within like very legacy brands, where they have been doing it in a certain way and they've nailed the playbook. You know, they know this is my playbook and I want to play it 20 times and I don't want to, like now rethink about this. It's working, so it's working. Versus there are people who are questioning that playbook, like people who are seeing the benefit, like they've tasted the benefit of being online. So I think like lack of knowledge, and second, yes, I would say definitely like people who have experimented or dabbled a little bit also in online are seeing the benefits and would want to go further in it. So I think, yeah, like it digital is going bigger, and what my prediction is with time that is going to go bigger, even like the brands being global and as world is becoming global. So I think yes, it should move more towards it, but if not 100%, I would not say that, but it would be in a very good, healthy mix of both offline and online rather than just heavily being offline.
Okay, got it. So you mentioned that event organizers, they do a mistake of starting the promotion pretty late at times, and because of that they lose money that they're putting into the marketing. So any other mistakes like such that small scale and medium scale event organizers initially do in their journey, which can be avoided, and which can definitely save a lot of time and money to them? Is there any advice you'd like to give on even marketing perspective?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, like we were talking about the fact that they don't always have a dedicated resource or a dedicated team. And in some cases, they do have a dedicated team, but then they put it together from their internal team, and that internal team may not have the necessary skills of writing, designing, of just having a general marketing sense. They may not. They may be engineers, or they may be finance people, for example, or they may be artists and designers, and they not necessarily have that marketing mind. So I think a lack of skills in the dedicated resources is one mistake. A lack of proper tracking and measuring is another mistake that we've seen. I'm sure like Akankshi can talk more on that.
So I give an example of, you said someone who's either launching new or someone who's a small or a mid-size. So one thing that as I'm a very data person and I work with a lot of numbers, what I have observed is certain times you don't need to put money behind anything. You could probably just run an email campaign. You could probably just, do some social media promotion by just posting on your social media channels, or you could do some SMS, like WhatsApp marketing, saying that I'll send some invites to my friends and like make like a affiliate or a referral program for those. But what I've noticed is that when we talk to these people, they don't have that data. And by data, I mean like how many people did you send this to? If I take like you had 4 channels in your mind for promotion. So if it was email, how big was your list? How many people were in those lists? Let's say 1,000. How many people actually got that number of? How many got delivered? Because there is not 100% match to it, right? Like if there are 1,000 people, there might be emails which are junk emails, or they've put you on spam, or they've blocked your email. So there are multiple factors that not everyone would get that email, right? So how many people got that email? Then secondly, how many people opened that email? Then how many people did an action on that email? How many people clicked and went to your website? From that, how many people within the traffic in your website were coming from this email? So I know this is like a knowledge that not a lot of people can have, and like the latter part could be a little technical. But I think the first step of how many people did we send that invite to? I think that also people don't have. Like, oh, we did SMS marketing, or we did email marketing, and when I'll ask, okay, how many people, who were these people, what made this list a list for you? They don't have any idea. We have this database, so hence we have it. So I think knowing your database first. Secondly, how much of it is existing is very important. And then tracking these metric in whatever convenient way and whatever small way you can. If nothing, at least you know how many people opened or responded to it. That could be just a small metric that you are tracking. The biggest thing that I think anyone in events that I've noticed is that they don't know what metric to track. If that is a channel like email, someone will say, I just did email marketing. But that's not an answer, right? Like when you're working and when you want to make your marketing dollars efficient, even if you're not paying dollars on a paid platform like a Facebook or a Google, you are putting money into a person who's doing that time you are doing that for, the effort of creating that. I think all of that is also cost in its own way, but that is not being tracked at any point. So I think that's where like these smaller players lose the battle, because they just diss a platform without even tracking the real metric, whichever it is. For email, it could be as simple as, oh, email is the open rate. How many people bought my ticket from that? So I think that could be one very easy metric to track, like how many people opened and how many people bought from that email. So let's take SMS. I delivered X amount of SMSs to these number of people. How many people responded to that? So these are very small metric, and people will go and say, oh, the benchmark is like 4.5%. My benchmark wasn't like, I'm talking about the people who are a little more mature and they have this basic setup of tracking. Where they'll say, oh, it's just 4%, so I think it's not worth the effort, but they're not looking at where this 4% is. A lot of times, like if you look at any of these research surveys that happen, it's mostly for United States, not even for India. So the benchmark itself is wrong, right? And a lot of times you have to understand these benchmarks are built on an average. So a big brand could achieve like a 10%, maybe a small brand can achieve only 2%. So benchmark should be your own number. It should not be the benchmarks that's being portrayed online. So you could say, okay, for 3 years I tested a platform. First year I got this percentage, second year I got this percentage. I think the effort to ROI is very low. But you did not even put that effort. You didn't even track that number, or you track that number, but you just saw an offline or an online number, and you say, okay, my competitor is getting this much, so I think our effort is not good enough. So I think like these are small things that I feel can be fixed. Now coming as to the black hole of what is actually happening on digital, brands that are very digital first and they understand the importance of digital. They have an idea of why digital is important, but there's a hole in their data, where what I would say is, first of all, like these ticketing platforms don't give them the data. Like few years back, I think they were giving it away. Like whatever tickets you are selling, they'll give you the email IDs. Versus now that does not exist. And fair enough, it is their data, and why should they share it with these organizers? You have just listed your event on their platform. But having said that, like all the data is that is your main data, right? Like,
Right.
and you can leverage it maybe, and if they give it like at the end of the event, makes no sense, right?
Because the main effort being put is from the event organizer side.
Exactly.
They're marketing the event. It's
Yeah,
just a
and
platform to buy a ticket, but all the data goes there.
Goes there, because their claim is it is their platform, their users, so hence we want to keep our data to ourselves, which is fair. So, but now that they give the data at the end of the event, I think fair enough, they do give it, but I am promoting the event now. I
Yeah.
need the data now. I need to optimize the campaign now. So how do I do that if I don't have this anywhere within my system? So I think a solution like a for me definitely helps me in bridging that gap. Like I get real time metric, I get real time data. I can use that data to create like similar audience. I could create lookalike audience. I could utilize that data into feeding into my email nurtures. If they've bought like one ticket, I could probably do a referral to them. If they've bought like 10 tickets, I could offer them some, if I'm doing some activation on the event where it's like a group activity, we can give like a discount on it.
Yes.
So these data points are sort of like, I think, a black hole for a lot of organizers because they use these ticketing platforms and not have their own. And the reason that I've heard for not having their own setup is that it is very expensive to build a platform, and I completely agree to it. And like engineering costing is way too high for it. So I think a solution like for me can be a very easy plugin. First of all, like as much as I've understood, I think it's very easy to integrate the platform with the current channels that we have. And it's not just to do act as a ticketing platform, it does a lot more beyond that. That if like a user is buying one ticket, so what I've noticed in events, let's say Big Blue Ski or any of these clubs sort of organize an event, I am 100% sure they would not know how much a user is spending, a single user. They know how much a table spent, but they don't know how much one user spent on their platform. And by the end of the event, what all did they buy?
Right.
Did they buy whiskey? Did they buy beer? What kind of food did they? So you can't customize the experience, and everyone in today's world, because I work in a company which is a customer engagement platform, which helps in mapping these journeys and making the journey so much more personalized. Because everyone wants, like, why do they want to hear the noise? They want to see an ad or look at an information which is very personalized to them and which is very relevant to them. Otherwise, it's just like a shoot in a dark, right? Like
Yes.
you are just trying to get someone to sign up for something that they might sign up. So I think like for me, sort of bridges these smaller like pocket holes that I see as data gaps within their marketing and making the paid media efficient.
Yeah, that's where Formy comes into the play. It's like a one-stop solution for event organizers where they can find sponsors, they can find marketers, they can find promoters, affiliate marketers, all in one place, and at the same time track their performance, which is the most important. Because using that information, they will know like properly about what their return on investment is. So, how important do you think tracking the customer journey and then also tracking the promoters' real-time data is? Like, how can event organizers or digital marketers use that real-time data to improve their ROI?
So I'll just give like a very simple example. Let's say I am running an X brand awareness promotion. First is the launch of an event, right? And there you are not talking about selling the ticket immediately because you want to warm the user, right? You want them to feel the vibe of the event. You want to tell them what they could expect out of it. So you might probably run that campaign and then retarget that audience, saying that, hey, now that I've seen, like, let's say, looking at this, 10 people buy it. I get a traffic of 1,000 and 10 people buy it. Now those 900 people, how do I get back to my platform? I will retarget them. I can run again a dedicated campaign saying that, hey, we saw that you are interested in our event, but we saw that you haven't bought from us. So here is like a special discount for you. Or you can customize that journey. This is a very simple example I'm giving. So you are not wasting the dollar that you invested in getting the first person in the first place and then reusing that user and trying to nudge them to buy again.
Okay.
So I think that circle gets completed if you have that data with you.
Okay.
So yeah, I think.
Right. I would like to ask you how the real-time data collected can be used to give a personalized touch to creative ways. Like maybe the website designs or the ad design, if it can be created in a different way based on the customer preferences data that's been collected. So how would you
Yeah,
go about it?
absolutely. Because let's take an example that we built a funnel, and for whatever reason it's not performing as well as like I want it to. So now, so what do I change? Like, what's not working? Is it the ad creative? Is it the landing page? or is there some glitch happening? Is my checkout process too long? Is my checkout process confusing? So where exactly are they dropping off? So that's where, like, having the data to understand where the customer is spending too much time, then I can be like, okay, so this there is a what do I call it? There is a friction here, there is a bump here, so maybe I can ease that out. How do I ease it out? Maybe I'll try a different approach to creative, and then I need that data. Otherwise, I don't know. I am in the blind. I've made a creative, I've made a video, I've made a landing page, but I need to know if it's performing well or not. If I and I need to know, like, if I need to try a different approach or not. So definitely, like, having that data informs us of how our creatives are performing. So helps a lot.
And it's like when you launch one campaign, it's not like you will go with one communication, right? So you launch like A, B, C, D levels of communication, and then you figure out, oh, the B is connecting more. Now this data goes to Nilanjan. Now Nilanjan, I give that information to Nilanjan, and then Nilanjan will customize the content for that particular audience to drive that back to the rest of them. So I think the whole loop sort of gets closed only when you have the data with you. Versus, as we discussed, like a lot of times they don't have that within their system. So I think for me, bridges that black hole for them and helps them in understanding whether I should invest the dollar on X channel. So I can even say the black hole exists, that whether Facebook worked for me, Google worked for me, or Instagram worked for me also exists. So right now I'm investing on all three. But which channel is giving me better ROI? Let's say the ratio is 1:2 in one and 1:4 in the other. Then I'll invest more in the 1:4 and lesser on the. I'm not going to shut that, but I'm going to invest less. So you can control your paid budgets also there. So I think that is one of the other thing that I see for me adding value there.
Okay, I get it. So the existing ticketing platforms, the big players, we don't know from where the lead of the conversion is coming from, the source of it, if anyone's buying a ticket on the platform. So if that real-time data is gained, so how do you think that would make a difference? And like you said, the budget allocation would definitely change.
So let's say, like, I get to know that within from for me that my Be Creative from Facebook was working really well. I basically, first of all, I can add email nurtures according to that, which could lead to better conversion ratio and open rate. The second thing is I can reuse this audience and reuse this content and tell Nilanjan, can we make it a little bit in that direction, and pause the rest of them and not waste dollars there and recreate that validation for the audience that they're looking for. And then that is what I said, like it's a cycle. Like you start with an A, you go to a B, you go to a C, and then this cycle keeps going, and you can churn your audience within. So it's not like a lost dollar that you're spending. A lot of times it's like you ran a traffic campaign and you don't even know, okay, now that they are on the traffic on your website, what do I do with this audience? There's a lot of times you don't know what can I create beyond this. Can I do an SMS? Can I do what kind of content should I put in my SMS? If I know that this creative got me this traffic, then I can continue that narrative, right? Like Nilanjan can write like better copies at it. So I think that lack of data also sort of exists.
Okay. Okay. So Nilanjan, what kind of marketing strategy would you suggest for a small scale or medium scale event organizer to promote their event, considering they have a small tight budget for the event promotion?
I would say definitely, like, put all your focus on digital firstly. I mean, because in terms of ROI, I think digital, like value for money, I would say, like digital gives you far more than offline. Offline you should do when you have a big enough budget that you can, just blast your message everywhere. And but when you have smaller budgets, put all your focus on digital, and do, like, and you need to have that tracking system that we were talking about installed, so that we don't waste the money. If the money is scarce, we don't want to waste it, right? So we need to make sure that we are spending every marketing dollar intelligently, efficiently. So we need that tracking. And the third thing I would say is that have the right skills in place, because not having the right skills also leads to wastage of that money. So let's say that you have the tracking, you run the campaigns, but you don't have the right skill sets of, you don't know how to write the copies or how to make proper videos. So again, your ads are running, but your ads are not converting.
Mm.
So I would say those three things. Firstly, put all your focus on digital, have proper tracking, and have the right skills in your team.
Okay.
And more than what Nilanjan said, that digital is you can easily go. More than that, I think it's the you know who you are reaching out to. It's the control that you can have on your dollars, which in a lot of offline events you can't really predict that. Like you can't like I think nowadays like there does not exist an event which is just completely offline. There is a little bit of a digital presence for everyone. So hence like offline you can't control much, but in digital you know who you are reaching out to, who's seeing your ad, and then you can drive your narrative the way you want to drive it. So I think it's the control of your dollars, the control of your communication, and the control of the audience.
Okay.
Are the three key factors why I think digital should be the first soft launch for anyone. And having said that, like if it is a very unknown or the first time they are launching, I think it should be a healthy mix of offline and offline, online and offline, because online only works when there is an existing demand, or either you use digital only to create demand. So demand generation and then conversion happens both on digital is how you need to think. Now whether demand generation should happen on digital or offline, that is something that I think the founder or the owner or the event organizer would know better. So I can't like give a blanket statement saying that you should only do digital, but demand creation has to happen somewhere or the other. So
Okay. Okay, so you mentioned that it's important to target an audience specific to the event, right? So certain events that have niche audience, let's say, Echoes of Earth, which you guys have worked with. So how does that work? What's the procedure of like marketing to a audience that prefers going to that event?
uh,
I think getting the voice right is very important, because like you said, Echoes is a niche audience. They cater to a very specific group of people, and they have a certain vibe, a certain aesthetic ethos. So it's very important to understand that ethos and embody that ethos in order to communicate that ethos. And when you do that, that's when you are able to connect with the right target audience that they want there. So I would say that's the first step.
Okay, so based on our conversation, I understand that as marketers, you guys also face a number of limitations, loopholes when working with event management companies for promoting their events. So, what, according to you guys, is the ideal case scenario to provide seamless digital marketing solutions to these events?
An ideal scenario would be, the first most important thing is to know the voice, know the story. Because when you know the correct voice and when you define the correct voice, then you are able to connect with your audience in a way that they come to your event. And apart from that, I would say that you should have the right team with the right skill sets. You should have enough timeline and resources to actually promote the event. You don't push marketing as an afterthought and do it last minute. Have enough time, have enough resources to do it, and a healthy mix of digital, offline influencer activations. Like, ask influencers to promote your event, and then of course, like, everything has to be tracked, right? Everything has to be tracked and measured, and you need that data. You want to talk more about that?
So like tracking could be at the level of a, like I was only till now talking about digital tracking, right? Like, but offline tracking is also a very important thing, because as we all know, it's not like today everyone is going to go digital. Everyone has to have a healthy mix of offline and online. So how to digitize your experience of, like, how do you benefit by digitizing your offline? How can you take that data and utilize it? It is through creating these journeys. Like, let's say you have 10 promoters for your event. How do you know out of that 10 promoter, which promoter got you the better revenue, which got you a better traffic, which got you a relevant traffic? And now that could be tracked through like a pixel integration. What is, now this seems very technical, but if I have to simplify it, is by saying that it's a piece of code which you put it on your landing page or your website or any web page that you want to track, or any activity that you want to track, and it has to have like a interface or a of a landing page or a page where That ways you could basically know promoter A, B, or C. Let's say we invested 25,000 with them, 30,000 with B, 40,000 out of C. Now, how do I get this data of offline to online? So, using this pixel that I'm talking about can help you understand this A got me X traffic and Y amount of revenue, and the same goes with the rest of them. And let's say this event you are seeing that the C is doing really well, and you get this data real time, then you can shift your budgets, right? It's not like set in stone. Or you could invest if let's say you are contractually bound with them, then you can invest more with the C. And next year you don't do any promotion with an A and B. So you can increase, you can better your marketing ROI using something like a pixel integration, which is very, very simple to do. And this is offline, I'm talking about online. This pixel integration happens also on Facebook. All these social media or promotion platform have their own pixel code.
Yes.
They track whichever with what kind of traffic is coming to your platform, and that data gets captured, and a digital marketer like me can utilize that data to take an informed decision as to what I can do next. So I think these are very smaller things, but it all ties into like a bigger thing. Like if I know this promoter, if I know this channel, what right channel I can promote to, what is my communication, how can I use this to extend my narrative on SMS, email, other organic channels, creating like an SEO. Like you can do SEO for your own website by if you know what kind of keyword is driving more traffic to your website, then you can utilize those insights and create like a good SEO strategy as well. So I think the overall tracking, having everything recorded somewhere helps you in not just your current event, and having the real time data is very important, because if everything is happening by the end of the event, it is of no use, because you are just spending the dollar to wait and see what the benefit or a loss you are getting at that point. So I think having that tracking into place, having the right channel, and lastly, I think what I can think of is having your own database is the most important thing for offline, online, any kind of marketing event you are doing, or anything related to marketing. I think you need to have your data in a way that you can know what I could do next. So I think that's where I would say that it will help anybody to have that in place while they are planning their event.
Yeah, definitely. And all of that is what Forming aims to provide to event organizers and even for marketers who create an account on our page. So it was great talking to you guys, and we got a lot of insights regarding the loopholes and the future of digitization. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Lovely
you.
being here.
Thank you.
Likewise.